Principle number 2. Master your feelings. The secret to unshakable success. Emotions shape our decisions, actions, and ultimately our lives. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them. It means understanding, channeling, and using them to propel your growth and success. Here are 5 transformative habits to help you take control of your emotional landscape, each paired with an inspiring real-life story. 1. Understand before you react. Reacting emotionally without understanding the full context often leads to regret, broken relationships, and missed opportunities. True emotional mastery begins not in the heat of the moment, but in the ability to pause, reflect, and respond with clarity. This is the foundation of emotional intelligence, the ability to be aware of what you're feeling and why, and to choose your response instead of being controlled by it. Sophia, a marketing executive in Chicago, was the kind of leader people noticed immediately. She had a sharp mind, a creative spark, and an impressive track record. But she also had a reputation for being emotionally reactive. Her passion, while inspiring, often morphed into impatience and frustration under pressure. During a high-stakes client pitch, one mistake changed everything. A junior team member accidentally presented outdated analytics. In front of the client, Sophia snapped, interrupting mid-sentence, correcting the data in a stern voice, and leaving the junior employee red-faced and rattled. The pitch wrapped up awkwardly. Later that day, the client called with feedback. They liked the campaign, but were concerned about the team's dynamic. That moment shook Sophia more than she expected. That evening, sitting in her apartment alone, she played the scene back in her mind. Why had she reacted so harshly? As she dug deeper, she realized her anger wasn't just about the mistake. It was rooted in her own fear of failure, of losing credibility, of not being seen as the competent leader she worked so hard to be. That self-awareness was a breakthrough. Sophia decided she didn't want to keep leading with fear disguised as control. She committed to change, not through a grand gesture, but through small, consistent actions. She started journaling her emotions daily. She set aside 10 minutes each morning for mindfulness. And she created a new personal rule. Before responding emotionally, she would pause and ask herself, what's really going on here? It wasn't easy at first. The urge to react quickly was strong. But over time, something remarkable happened. She began noticing her triggers and patterns. She caught herself before snapping. She started giving her team more space to learn from their mistakes. Her meetings felt calmer, more collaborative. Her colleagues began to feel safer around her, which brought out their best work. Within a few months, the shift was so visible that her director mentioned it in a performance review. She wasn't just doing great creative work, she was demonstrating leadership. Shortly after, she was promoted to oversee a larger team, not just because of her results, but because of her growth. Sophia's story is a powerful reminder that emotional intelligence is not about suppressing your feelings, it's about understanding them. When you pause instead of pounce, reflect instead of react, you begin to lead not from fear, but from strength. And that kind of leadership, grounded in awareness and empathy, is what truly transforms teams, careers, and lives. 2. Your emotions are not you. You are not your emotions. You are the observer of them, the steady presence behind the storm. Emotions are temporary. They rise and fall like clouds or waves. But when you mistake them for who you are, they begin to shape your identity and distort your path. Learning to see feelings as visitors, not definitions, is one of the most powerful steps toward emotional freedom. Jake, a software engineer in Seattle, learned this lesson the hard way. After 10 years of marriage, he went through a devastating divorce. The life he had built, the future he had imagined, all crumbled. In the months that followed, Jake felt like a shell of himself. He was consumed by emotions, deep sadness, anger, shame, and a constant sense of failure. He stopped seeing friends. He buried himself in work or stayed in bed all weekend. The narrative running in his head was simple but dangerous. I am broken. I am unworthy. I am alone. One evening, unable to bear the weight of his thoughts, Jake took a walk along the Puget Sound. The winter air was brisk, the water choppy, reflecting his own inner turbulence. As he passed a quiet corner of the pier, he noticed an elderly man painting, calm, focused, unmoved by the cold wind. Jake paused, and they struck up a conversation. They talked about the view, then life, then pain. At one point, the man turned to Jake and said gently, "Your emotions are like waves. Ride them, don't drown in them. Don't confuse a passing storm with the sky." Those words lingered. Jake began therapy shortly after. There, he learned one of the most transformative concepts: you can feel something without becoming it. Instead of saying, "I am hopeless," he began to say, "I feel hopeless today." That tiny shift, just a few words, was enough to give him space. He wasn't the emotion, he was the one witnessing it. That space gave Jake room to breathe, to process, and eventually, to heal. He started journaling his feelings each night. Not to judge them, but to observe them. He got back into hiking, something he had loved before his marriage. He joined a local group and made new friends, people who didn't know him as the divorce guy, but just as Jake. Slowly, his world expanded again. A year later, Jake felt like a different man. Not because the pain had vanished, but because he had learned to carry it differently. He was no longer drowning in emotions, he was learning to surf them. He had even begun dating again, this time with a clearer sense of self, unshackled from past labels and fears. Jake's journey is a reminder for us all. Emotions are real, but they are not permanent. They are not you. When you learn to witness them instead of wear them, you reclaim your power. You find peace not by avoiding storms, but by knowing that the sky, your true self, is always above the clouds, untouched and waiting. 3. Create emotional triggers. How rituals shape your mindset and mood. Every emotion we experience is tied to a trigger, something that activates a specific feeling. Often, these triggers are unintentional. A stressful email first thing in the morning sparks anxiety. A messy room subtly fuels frustration. A rushed breakfast sets the tone for a chaotic day. But what if we could flip that? What if, instead of reacting to emotional triggers, we could design them, intentionally shaping our internal state before the world has a chance to? That's what Emma, a public school teacher from Oregon, discovered when she decided to stop letting her mornings control her and instead began controlling her mornings. The emotional cost of chaos. Emma had always loved teaching. Her passion for helping young minds thrive had led her to a fulfilling career. But the reality of the classroom was overwhelming. 30 energetic students, constant lesson planning, parent meetings, administrative tasks. It was like juggling flaming swords while standing on a moving treadmill. The anxiety started small. Waking up with a tight chest, feeling irritable while getting dressed, skipping breakfast to review one more lesson. But over time, the emotional weight of each morning became unbearable. By the time Emma entered her classroom, she was already drained. Her students, sensing her tension, responded with restlessness and disconnection. The day always seemed to spiral downward from there. One Friday afternoon, after breaking down in her car for the third time in a month, Emma realized the problem wasn't her job, it was how she began her day. She didn't need to quit teaching. She needed a new way to prepare emotionally for the challenges it brought. The birth of the reset ritual. That weekend, Emma began researching emotional regulation, mindfulness, and peak performance. She stumbled upon a quote from author James Clear: "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." That hit her hard. She didn't need to try harder, she needed better systems. So she created what she came to call her reset ritual. It was a morning routine specifically designed to help her feel emotionally grounded and in control. Here's what it looked like. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. No snooze button. Emma committed to waking up before her usual rush so she could claim that time for herself. Light a lavender candle. The scent of lavender is known to reduce anxiety. For Emma, the smell became an emotional anchor. Over time, Just lighting the candle signaled her brain that calmness was coming. Gratitude journaling. Every morning, she wrote down 3 things she was grateful for. They didn't have to be profound. Some days it was just hot coffee or my soft blanket. But the act reoriented her mindset from lack to abundance. 5 minutes of deep breathing with classical music. This wasn't just meditation, it was emotional conditioning. The calming music and rhythmic breathwork taught her nervous system to relax. Even 5 minutes had a noticeable impact. What surprised Emma most was how quickly the shift occurred. By the end of the first week, she was walking into school with a different energy. Within 2 weeks, she noticed her students mirroring that shift. The classroom felt calmer, more focused. The chaos didn't vanish, but her response to it changed. Designing emotional triggers. What Emma experienced is what psychologists call anchoring, a process where a stimulus, like music, a smell, or a ritual, becomes associated with a specific emotional state. Over time, your brain links that stimulus to a feeling, and just encountering it again can recreate the emotion. Think of how a song can instantly transport you to a memory, or how the smell of a certain food brings comfort. These are emotional triggers, but most people don't realize they can create these associations on purpose. That's the power of rituals. Rituals aren't just routines, they're symbolic actions layered with meaning and intent. They help us switch gears emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. When repeated consistently, they become emotional programming for your day. Why this works? Emma's reset ritual worked because it satisfied 3 psychological needs. Predictability. Amidst the chaos of her day, her morning became something she could count on. This gave her a sense of stability and control. Identity shaping. Each part of the ritual reinforced the identity she wanted: calm, centered, prepared. Lighting a candle wasn't just about scent, it was a declaration that she was prioritizing peace. Physiological regulation. Breath work and mindfulness directly affect the nervous system, reducing cortisol and slowing the heart rate. She was literally calming her body before it entered a high-stress environment. The ripple effect. What started as a private practice began to influence her public world. Her students responded to her energy shift. Parents noticed her increased patience. Her colleagues started asking what had changed. Emma wasn't doing more. She was doing it differently. By tending to her emotional state first, she became more effective in everything else. This is the often overlooked secret of emotional design. Your internal environment shapes your external outcomes. When you begin your day in control of your emotional state, you carry that steadiness into your interactions, decisions, and reactions. Crafting your emotional triggers. You don't need to be a teacher or struggle with anxiety to benefit from what Emma did. Anyone can design a reset ritual. Here's how to begin. Start small. Choose one anchor: a scent, a song, a type of lighting, or a quiet place. Use it consistently at the same time each day. Attach intentional emotion. While using your anchor, practice feeling the emotion you want to link with it: calm, joy, focus, confidence. Repeat daily. Repetition is key. The more often you pair the anchor with the desired emotion, the stronger the association becomes. Protect the ritual. Treat it as sacred. This is the time for emotional design, not distraction. Your emotional state isn't random. It's influenced by your habits, environment, and the systems you set up. Most people start their day reacting to noise, to deadlines, to notifications. But people like Emma are reclaiming the power of proactive emotional design. The most important minutes of your day are often the first 30. That's when you tell your nervous system who's in charge. That's when you decide what kind of energy you'll bring to the world. You don't have to wake up 2 hours earlier or meditate for 40 minutes. You just need to be intentional. A 5-minute ritual can be more powerful than an hour of rushing. Emma didn't change the world. She changed herself. And that made all the difference. 4. Don't numb your emotions. Transform them. Feel it to heal it. In today's hyperconnected, overstimulated world, it's easy, so easy, to escape from uncomfortable emotions. A bad day at work? Scroll endlessly on your phone. Feeling lonely? Order comfort food. Anxious or overwhelmed? Pour a glass of wine and binge a series on Netflix. These distractions offer momentary relief, but they often mask a deeper issue: the refusal to sit with our feelings, understand them, and grow from them. Logan, a 34-year-old financial analyst living in New York City, knew this cycle well. From the outside, Logan had a picture-perfect life. A solid job at a reputable firm, a sleek apartment in Midtown, and a well-stocked wine rack. But inside, he was running on empty. Each day, he would come home drained, not just physically, but emotionally. He felt pressure to perform at work, disillusionment with his career path, and a gnawing sense of isolation. Instead of confronting those feelings, Logan developed a habit: 2 glasses of wine and 2 hours of Netflix. It became his ritual, his buffer zone between pain and awareness. At first, it seemed harmless. Everyone unwinds somehow, right? But as weeks turned into months, Logan noticed something had shifted. He wasn't just unwinding, he was numbing. He was avoiding. He was silencing his inner voice with routine comfort. The wake-up call. Everything changed during a weekend visit with an old college friend named Josh, now a certified fitness coach and motivational speaker. Josh lived a very different life: early mornings, clean eating, regular workouts, and a relentless drive towards self-improvement. One crisp Saturday morning, Josh invited Logan on a morning run through Central Park. Logan hadn't run in months, and he lagged behind, winded and frustrated. After the run, they sat on a bench, sipping coffee, when Logan finally admitted how he felt. "I'm just tired, man," Logan said, staring into the distance. "Work's a grind, and when I get home, I have nothing left. I zone out with wine and TV, and I don't even know who I am anymore." Josh nodded quietly, then replied with something that would echo in Logan's mind for weeks. "You're not tired, you're stuck. You're not relaxing, you're escaping. You're silencing your emotions instead of listening to them." That hit hard. Deep down, Logan knew Josh was right. He wasn't living, he was avoiding. That night, Logan made a small but powerful decision. Instead of pouring his usual glass of wine, he picked up an old journal he had abandoned years ago. The first entry was raw and honest. "I'm scared that I'm wasting my life. I don't hate my job, but I don't love it. I feel alone. I feel like I'm drifting." It was painful to write, but it was real. And it was a start. Over the following week, Logan committed to replacing his nightly escapism with a new routine: 30 minutes of weight training in his building's gym to release tension and build physical resilience. 10 minutes of journaling, where he wrote freely about what he was feeling and what triggered it. Reading personal development books for inspiration instead of numbing his mind with television. The first few nights were uncomfortable. There were cravings for wine, for passive entertainment, for the dopamine hits that had become his emotional crutches. But he pushed through, and something incredible began to happen. As Logan journaled, he started noticing patterns. His anxiety always spiked after meetings with his manager. His loneliness deepened on Fridays when most coworkers went out, and he stayed behind. His dissatisfaction wasn't about work alone, it was about the lack of meaning and passion in his life. By observing these feelings instead of avoiding them, Logan began to feel more in control. He started setting boundaries at work, asking for more creative projects, and reconnecting with old friends. The physical training boosted his energy, and his reading gave him new tools for resilience and self-awareness. Logan wasn't trying to eliminate negative emotions, he was learning to understand and channel them. He still had hard days. There were moments of stress, disappointment, and frustration. But now, instead of drowning in those feelings or silencing them with distractions, he used them as signals, calls to action rather than alarms to shut down. The power of facing what hurts. Emotions are not enemies. They are messengers. When we feel anxious, it may be because we're out of alignment. When we feel sad, it may be because something needs our attention or healing. When we feel angry, it may be because a boundary is being crossed. Logan's story is a reminder that we don't grow by running from what we feel, we grow by walking through it. His productivity at work increased, not because of new systems or strategies, but because his mind was clearer, and his emotional energy wasn't drained by avoidance. More importantly, his self-respect grew. Each day he chose growth over numbing, honesty over avoidance, and he built a new identity, someone who could face discomfort, rise from it, and lead with clarity. We all have moments where it feels easier to escape than to engage. But freedom isn't found in avoidance, it's found in awareness. True transformation begins not when we run from what hurts, but when we lean in and listen. Logan didn't need a new job or a different life. He needed a new relationship with his emotions. And that changed everything. 5. Mastery comes from consistency, not perfection. You won't master your emotions overnight. The goal isn't to never feel bad, but to consistently choose better responses, even 60% of the time, at first. Over time, it adds up. Madeline was an aspiring writer in Austin, Texas, working a 9-to-5 admin job. Every time she received criticism, from editors, peers, or even friends, she shut down emotionally. It made her doubt her dreams. Instead of giving up, she made a deal with herself. For the next 30 days, she would write daily, submit at least one piece weekly, and, most importantly, log her emotional reactions. She rated each response from 1, completely reactive, to 10, calm and constructive. By day 10, she had her first 8 out of 10. By day 30, she had several. Her writing improved dramatically, not just in content, but in confidence. A year later, she published her first short story collection. Emotional mastery became her creative edge. Feel it all, master what matters. Mastering your feelings isn't about becoming cold or emotionless, it's about becoming conscious. Emotions are powerful forces, and when harnessed correctly, they become the rocket fuel of productivity, relationships, and personal growth. Key reminders. Pause before reacting. Observe, don't identify. Build empowering rituals. Channel your emotions. Keep showing up, even imperfectly. Your emotions are messengers. Learn their language, and they'll lead you to your highest self. Emotions are a natural aspect of existence. However, adequate knowledge, control, and channeling of those emotions are necessary for meaningful productivity. Too many people lack emotional intelligence and are unaware of what motivates, fulfills, or makes them happy. You need to spend time learning about your goals, emotional triggers, and likes and dislikes. You take charge once you understand yourself. You can focus your efforts on worthwhile endeavors rather than emotional diversion. Start by establishing modest, doable objectives. You will learn what activities excite you and where your hidden abilities are when you take action on them, particularly after losses. After that, you will organically establish a schedule that suits you and maintains your feelings in line with your goals. You become unstoppable when you combine emotional control with the clarity of principle number 1. Your subconscious becomes your ally in carrying out your larger plan, and your goals start to direct your emotions.